Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm the one talking to you today, but you should know that there is a whole team behind this deck. A team with long-standing experience in construction engineering, asset management, and investment banking. We design, develop, and manage stylish yet affordable properties in Thailand. As you can see, we are a mix of local Thai and foreigners, although all the foreigners have been living in between Thailand and Singapore for almost 10 years. We are very committed to the region, and we want to make an impact in what we believe is our home now. What makes us special is that we do everything in-house, and this allows us to have full control on cost and execution that in an emerging market like Thailand is crucial. The team has already worked together. We completed last year a 78-unit condominium in Chalong, which is the residential part of Phuket, with great response of the local middle class and the expat community. We are running at 80% occupancy rate. As you can see, we spend a lot of time on design and quality. We imported things from Italy, and but we kept prices low thanks to this total control on the supply chain. So to give you an example, an apartment like that runs at goes for $60,000 US, and I can assure you there is nothing of that quality at that price point in Phuket. And managing this property, we realized that yes, it's an entry-level condominium, but it's expensive for most Thai. And we also understood that there is a blue ocean in the low-end segment of the market because there is no developer nor the government that is doing anything in that space. So if you can do anything of that quality, so beautiful but more affordable, we can really change the landscape of the real estate in Thailand. And so, since I'm at INSEAD, we started developing this grander vision. We created a brand new company called Spazio NOON, which has the mission to change the way we perceive housing in Southeast Asia. And to tell you the story about Spazio NOON, I would like to tell you the story of two persons that are very dear to us. Tina and Som, which are our two assistants. They're young professionals. They are trained as lawyers and accountants. They started earning a good salary. They drive their own car. They have their own, the latest smartphone. But when it comes to housing, they still live in very basic accommodation, or they still live with their parents. And this is a very common problem in Thailand. We've been interviewing more than 500 people, and we realized that most of these guys, they still live in very basic accommodations like this one, with not even hot water. And talking to them, we also realized they just don't want a better place. They also want to keep hanging out with their friends, which is fair because happiness is relationships, and this has been proven in many, many ways. So, and if you think of the real estate in the developed market, it evolved in the complete opposite direction. So everything is caged and fenced, is actually isolating us from each other. So, what's Spazio? Spazio NOON is not just a building. Spazio NOON is a community of like-minded people. It's a space that is created to connect. And we want to do this, creating a genuine neighborhood vibe with small private spaces, but very big common areas. They are designed in a way to engage people and make them, encouraging them to spend time with each other. So we're going to have a swimming pool, we're going to have a gym, we're going to have a co-working space, movie theater, and of course events to engage the community. Every apartment will, of course, offer privacy. Everybody will have his own kitchenette, private bathroom. It will be designed in a way to optimize the limited space. We are working with an Italian manufacturer specialized in furniture for small spaces in order to find solutions for providing tenants with everything they need, although the space is very limited. So foldable beds, etc. The smallest studio will be 22 square meter, but of course we're also going to have bigger apartments, 1 and 2 bedroom. So Tina and Som tomorrow will be promoted as manager, will earn more money, will maybe have a family, and they can move into bigger apartments. And this, of course, will also allow us to price discriminate our clients and increase our income. The beauty is that all these come at the same price of the cluster accommodations that I showed you before. We're going to start from $200 US per month. And if you rent the same apartment for 15 years, the place is yours. So you can imagine the social impact of this project. And I believe that the impact is also beyond the real estate, because if we can provide resources like the co-working space to promote entrepreneurial activities, these can become a much broader impact. And we want to start from Phuket because it has experienced the highest growth in number of jobs thanks to the tourism industry. It's also a place where we know the authorities very well, and we are sure that the execution will be impeccable. So it's the perfect place to establish our brand before expanding. We already identified a plot of land which is next to schools, hospitals, shopping malls, and next to the upcoming MRT that will be completed in 3 years. And then this is just the beginning. We're going to expand, but for this project, for the first 300 units, we need $3 million of equity. The team is already committed to contribute part of this capital, and the rest, the debt part of the capital structure, will be provided by banks, which are very supportive because they love the purpose of the project. And anyway, we can also decrease the dependence on financial institutions selling part of this building to local Thai that they buy affordable housing with very, very advantageous terms in terms of mortgages. We are going to generate a 30% ARR and potentially even more if we can exit the investment at an even more aggressive cap rate. And if you guys are with me, with 35,000 euros, we option the land, and tomorrow morning we file for licensing and we start developing as soon as possible. This is, of course, just the beginning, because the country is huge, 70 million people. We estimate the market for this to be 15 to 20 million people, because most of the upcoming lower middle class and the current middle class are potential targets. And we want to expand to places where there are very strong catalysts like infrastructure development, universities, and industrial parks. So Chiang Mai, biggest university town, we're going to tweak this to serve students. Rayong, industrial parks, this can become a B2B play, and we can serve blue collars. And yeah, to manage risk, of course, we have been identified these, political, currency, quality, market, and climate. Political and execution and climate disaster are mitigated by insurance. When it comes to currency, of course, this is a very common problem in emerging markets, but the Thai baht is extremely resilient. Thailand is running the biggest current account surplus across all emerging markets. We are talking about 11% of its GDP. And in terms of market, we target a very local market. So we are betting on the organic growth that is very clear to us in the country. And I believe this is a great time to invest in Thailand, because the unemployment rate is below 1%. Wages are growing at 5.5% a year, and inflation is at 1.5%. So you can quickly calculate how fast is growing the purchasing power of these guys. So to sum up, this is the social impact we want to make. This is what we want to give to Tina, Som, and all the people like them, because the place you drive home to changes your perspective of what's possible. Thank you.
First question, Fontainebleau.
Hello?
Can't hear you.
Is it on now?
Yeah, it's on. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you for the presentation. My question is a little bit more, can you provide a little bit more detail on the execution plan? Real estate projects live and die by the time to market and the ability to actually sell the units on the market, or at least get them profitable. So can you delve a little bit there?
Okay, so we'll have, first of all, is a project of 2 to 2.5 years to complete the project. So 6 months to acquisition and secure licensing, which is something that we have done before. In terms of selling, we are planning to keep most of the building and renting out because we are gonna generate a 12% unlevered yield. In terms of selling, there are few ways in which we want to sell. One is local tie. We'll buy with mortgages, and they have very favorable conditions because government below 1.5 million baht, which is what we want to target, gives soft loans, 0 interest rate, and banks up to 100% loan to value. Second, we are going to sell to foreign investors like we did with the first project, and we're going to securitize this. So we're going to sell them like financial securities. We managed for them property which is freehold and generates 7 to 8% net yield. So, and these are very small tickets. We're talking about $35,000. So that's definitely another ways in which we're gonna capture selling. And yes, if we can keep most of these things and in the future list a package of assets, it will be the ideal situation.
Question, Singapore.
If you compare your property project with other projects in the same location and the IRR that you would give to investors, how does this compare? Because you are doing it at a very low cost, right? So but this is purely for profit. So I'm just wondering, are you providing less returns for your investors since you are providing low costs to the residents, or are you on par?
Okay, so if you compare it to a very speculative property development, we're going to generate less return because we believe in the long-term value of this property. We believe that we can capture the growth of our tenants in terms of rent. So the fact that we're not going to sell or immediately everything, it puts us in the terms of returns a little bit lower than other very, very speculative projects. In terms of yield, the scale of the project, I think, will allow us to be even more competitive of certain projects in the region. Having said that, there is nothing in that category, in the 7 to 12,000 baht per month. There is nothing similar. What you have seen, these basic cluster accommodations and few very, very dispersed projects are the only thing that could be considered our competitors.
Fontainebleau.
Okay, great. I'm just a little confused on the financials. Could you clarify what the split would be between rental units and sale units? Because, I'm just trying to figure out what the long-term strategy is here. You mentioned securitization. I'm not sure what the overall price point here is and if securitization is a viable opportunity for you. So if you could elaborate on the rental split versus sales split.
Yeah, so half of the project will be rent only and will be registered as hotel because we can also work on very short-term accommodations and Phuket offers a lot of potential for capturing also digital nomads and short-term tourists. The other half will be registered as condominium, and as a condominium, half of it can be sold freehold to foreigners, the other half will remain Thai. So our target is to sell at least 25% of the overall project and potentially another 25%. So in the long term, we'll be left with half of the project and half of it will be sold to return equity to equity holders.
I still don't get it about how come you can be cheaper. I understand you give a lower return, but I don't understand how you could import goods from Italy and be cheaper than the rest. So please explain to me how you do that.
Well, it is a matter of course, scale. because we've been finding a lot of small manufacturers in Italy. They are extremely happy to receive orders of 100, 150 kitchens. And if we compare the cost that we can have in such as big orders from these manufacturers and we import them into Thailand, is more or less the same cost. Plus, our cost saving comes from the fact that like we do everything in-house, so we cut a lot of intermediaries. So,
time.
yeah.
That's time. Thank you very much.